Welcome to another Burn City Suns short. I'm Brendan Mao, and alongside me is Damian Adams. And Damian, we have our first chance to see this year's Suns team tomorrow at Phoenix Suns Media Day at Footprint Center starting at 10 a.m. So it's going to be an eventful day for the Suns after a crazy offseason. And just this past week has been crazy for the Suns after they traded away Deandre Ayton and Toumani Camara to the Blazers. They got back four players in return, and that ups their total to 13 newcomers, including one of their two-way guys. So it's a whole new team this year, but they still have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and they added Bradley Beal. So they have this championship expectations for the team this year, despite all these new guys. And tomorrow's going to be really the first day we get to see all of this come to fruition.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited to see what the mood is like, right? Because when you have a deal like that where two of your players are going out, four are coming in, and one of those players was a player that was with this team for a pretty long time in Deandre Ayton. So I know that there was chemistry issues, and that may be part of why he was traded away. Maybe we'll get to ask that question tomorrow. We don't know if we'll get an answer to that, but maybe we'll get to ask that question tomorrow and see if we get a real answer. But he had to have some friends, some people that he was close to around the team. So I wonder if there's any sadness around the fact that this guy was traded away after being such a big part of the team, and how much excitement is around the team because there's so many new guys coming in.
Yeah, and going off your point there on eight, and it seems like usually, like when Chris Paul was traded or another big name leaves a franchise, that the team will put out some kind of statement with quotes from maybe like the Suns, James Jones or Matt Ishbia, but we didn't get any statements from those two, so it'll be interesting to see their thoughts and guys like Devin Booker, who's now the only one left from their 2021 Finals run team, and it's just a wild thing to think about that this guy has done. He's played here for so long and had kind of a unique history that no one released a statement on him with direct quotes. So it's a big day for the Suns and what in a new team and new expectations. And yeah, I mean, I'm just my biggest question for them, not just tomorrow, is like how quickly can they gel together? Because I mean, you saw it last year that it took them a while and they never got fully gelled together because they still had rotation issues going into the playoffs. So, with a full season under their belt, can they find this chemistry quickly, or will it take some time once again?
Well, definitely, I think it'll take some time. You just mentioned how it's 13 new players. It's going to be once the roster is finalized, you're going to have what 9, 10 new players on this roster. So it's going to be something that takes time. You got a new coach, right? A new coaching staff. So it's going to take time for all of that to come together and to gel. And this time around, they have a full season. That's the blessing. That's the good thing about it because last year, like you mentioned, they made all these changes at the trade deadline. And like we talked about before, the trade deadline is almost at the end of the season now. So you had less than 30 games to really get together and gel. And then Kevin Durant came in with an injury. So he missed the first few games. He was a Sun player. And then he got hurt once he got on the court. So you really had a minimum amount of time to really come together and become a squad. So I think this team will take a little while to gel together. I wouldn't be surprised by a slow start. I don't think Suns fans should be alarmed by it, but it's something that could be on the table just because there's so many new pieces to this team.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think with the just looking at that DeAndre Ayton trade, just thinking about it some more time, that the Suns might be worse off to start from it because of all the new guys they have now. But maybe eventually that'll get them over the hump once they all gel together. Um, and then just going into the rotation, they have some questions there as well, like who's going to be that fifth starter. I mean, there's there's probably like five or six guys that could get that spot. So that's an interesting question for sure, as well
Right.
as um, they don't have a true point guard on their roster except for maybe Saban Lee, who's on a two-way spot. Jordan Goodwin is probably going to be their backup point guard, but I mean he's always been a combo guard. Bradley Beal's expected to be the starting point guard. But I mean, those two guys that I just mentioned aren't like true point guards by nature. So it's gonna those rotation issues or questions are gonna be interesting to see how they develop throughout training camp and the beginning of the season.
For sure. And you mentioned not having a true point guard. That's why I believe that this year will be the best year we see from Devin Booker from a playmaking standpoint. I think he will take on that role of being the primary playmaker for the offense because there's no other true point guard on the roster that will have big minutes like he will. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Devin Booker average 7.5, 8 assists this year.
Yeah, and I mean another thing that we've seen a lot of this summer is videos of the guys, especially like Durant, Booker, and Beal getting together and working out together. So it looks like they're already building some chemistry. You saw those in Booker's video he released for the shoe that it was basically like the whole team was working out in LA together. So I think that they're all hungry and they all want this one common goal. And I don't like if everyone's not bought in. Those guys that aren't bought in probably won't see much minutes, and I think that's really how this team's going to operate this year.
Yeah, no, that's a great sign when you see teams in the offseason working out together. You hear about it in all sports. In football, you heard about it with Patrick Mahomes and his receivers coming to his house for 2 weeks during the summertime to work out, and it worked out in a major way with them winning the Super Bowl. So maybe this is a sign of things to come for the Phoenix Suns of building that chemistry early. And maybe they come into the season and surprise me. Maybe I'm wrong about the slow start. Maybe they come in and they start off, 8-0 or something like that. And it's like, oh, okay, this Suns team is dangerous because of the chemistry they built. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. But tomorrow is the day that officially starts it off, man. I'm just so excited for it.
Yeah, and lastly, Damian, I mean, you mentioned it before. They have a new coach in Frank Vogel. I know me and you have talked about it a little bit, like just how is this team going to play under Frank Vogel? Especially we were looking forward to seeing how Ayton would play under him, but now they have to go into that new route with Yusuf Nurkic on the team. So that'll be interesting to see as well how he develops those big men and how his defensive identity like translates to a offensive like loaded with talent up and down on the offensive side of the ball. So that'll be interesting to see how his style of coaching translates to this team.
Oh, for sure. That's the one thing that I'm honestly most excited to see in the preseason is what does it look like? What kind of sets are they running? What are they doing defensively? Like, what are their identity on defense? Some defenses like to in pick and rolls. In the NBA, every team runs pick and roll. So how do you defend the pick and roll? Do you have your big man drop back? Do you have him step up and switch? Does he hedge and get back to his man? There's so many different ways that you can play defense in this league against, pick and rolls and different sets that are run by every team. And Frank Vogel's been able to master that in a major way with his successful teams. So can he do that with the Suns with this particular roster? Does he have the personnel to play the defense he wants to play? Or will he have to adjust in a totally different way than he's used to? That's going to be something that the preseason is really going to show us.
Yeah, and I guess we're gonna see what the first impression of the team is tomorrow. We'll have you covered all day long on burncitysports.com. On our Twitters, you can see our usernames tagged below our names for our personal ones, and then at Burn City Suns on X or Twitter, as well as at Burn City Sports on all social media. So just stay up to date on Suns Media Day tomorrow from me, Damian, and the rest of the Burn City team. And me and Damian will be live on site. So we're really looking forward to it. And yep, everything's going to start tomorrow at 10 a.m. So stay tuned and we look forward to having coverage for you.
Yes, definitely.